Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. With us today is a very special guest, Representative Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Republican from Florida. She is Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and Chairman of the Middle East and North Africa Subcommittee. And Representative Ros-Lehtinen,
thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for having us at your wonderful
Welcome
office.
to Miami.
We're happy to be
Bienvenida a Miami.
So good to see you. Let's start with a developing story. Secretary of State John Kerry's reinstated State Department officials demoted by Secretary Clinton over Benghazi. What do you make of this?
It is unbelievable. If it were not happening, if this were not the truth, I would say this belongs in a Ripley's Believe It or Not. First of all that Secretary Clinton did was reshuffle the deck chairs of the Titanic. No one has paid a price at all for the terrorist attacks in Benghazi, resulting in the deaths of 4 American citizens, including our ambassador. So she shifted the deck chairs, made it look like they were being demoted. She just gave them different titles, and most of them were being paid as they were just at home on vacation. And now they're all back again. So where is the investigation going? Are we going to find those guys? Who's on the ground trying to find those responsible for the deaths of these 4 innocents? It is unconscionable, I believe, for this whole administration to have called that first a phony scandal. That is an insult to everyone who is serving as security and in our embassies. And there's nothing phony about the deaths of 4 innocent American lives.
And there have been increased calls for a select committee to investigate Benghazi.
And I am for it. I am for it. At first I thought, well, we could do the proper oversight. But what's happened, Kathleen, we have seen that they've kept witnesses away from us. They don't want to have them come up to testify. We still are looking for some people to come up, but there's a feeling of intimidation in the State Department and throughout the agencies. Don't come forward. Don't come testify. You will suffer. Your career will suffer. And these are long-term career employees, and they certainly don't want to be furloughed or lose their jobs, or heaven knows what can happen. So it's total intimidation. Don't testify. And I believe that's why we need this select committee of Frank Wolf to really bore down on this issue and have subpoena power and have the ability to force these people to come testify. Darrell Issa has been doing a wonderful job. Hats off to him. But he needs to take care of a lot of all those phony scandals that are real. This select committee would only do Benghazi.
And what do you think is behind that intimidation? What's the motivation there? Why is it so tough getting answers?
You know, the narrative, the false narrative of this administration from the very beginning is that there is no need to continue this international war against Islamic terrorists, because we all get along and go along. And so they wanted this false narrative that everything was fine in Libya. Nothing, business as usual. Even though they called for more security, they wanted more reinforcements, all of their requests were denied, because what they want to convince the people is that these radical Islamic terrorists are not out to destroy Israel and the United States. And so that was a political agenda, and it was a political response to a real security threat. And that's why this level of intimidation continues throughout this administration.
Is the capture of bin Laden, pulling troops out of the Middle East and utilizing drone strikes, in your view, a viable anti-terrorism policy?
No, the Obama administration believes that having a drone policy is a solution. He is not in favor of building up our armed forces, giving our guys and gals everything that they need. He thinks that we can operate by just positioning drones and eliminating the bad guys. That is not a military readiness capability. And I think that in 10 years and 15 years down the road, we're going to be paying the price for not being ready, military ready in the way that we should be.
Let's switch gears real quickly and chat for a second about Egypt. There are fresh reports that the U.S. is temporarily holding up some military aid to Egypt. Is this a wise move?
It is absolutely correct for the United States government, the United States taxpayers, you, the constituents, to stop pouring money down a rat hole. And that's what we're doing in Egypt. We think that we can buy love and that we can buy respect. And this is $1.3 billion in aid that we're giving to Egypt, where there's no government, there's no stability. And before we were giving it to Morsi, a man who is led by and leads the Muslim Brotherhood, a group that is not our friends. And this administration has tried to sell the American public on this philosophy that the Muslim Brotherhood, they're made up of all kinds of people and individuals, and there's just not one guiding philosophy. Oh, there is a guiding philosophy, and it's anti-US, it's anti-democracy, it's anti-Christian, and it's anti-female, it's anti-everybody who doesn't agree with their dogma. So I think that we should cut off the spigot. It's time to stop the money drain that we're just wasting our money, giving it to governments that don't support democracy. And the other folks are saying, you know, we want to build up a civil society, we want democratic reforms. Why are you giving it to people who want to destroy you?
Mm-hmm. And meantime, Iran continues moving forward with its nuclear program.
And that should be our priority. You're so right. Iran is an existential threat to the democratic Jewish state of Israel, and it's a threat to the United States as well, and all of our interests. Instead, what is John Kerry doing? His Department of State is concentrating on a peace treaty between Israelis and Palestinians at the expense of everything else. Egypt is a failed state. Syria is a bloodbath every day. We have Lebanon that's becoming so lawless, and the Sinai that's lobbying attacks against Israel. This is a real problem. The Israeli-Palestinian peace issue is an important issue, but not when the whole Middle East and North Africa is blowing up.
Do you see Israel striking Iran?
Well, we know that Israel will do whatever she needs to do to protect herself. And I think that it is incumbent upon us, either if the administration won't do it, the United States government, to make it clear to Israel that we will stand with her in her right to protect herself. What other country would put up with missiles being lobbed against us as Israel does with the Gaza Strip? Hamas is bombarding Israel all the time, and now they have the worry in the Sinai, and they have the worry also in Lebanon with Hezbollah. So Israel is in a very difficult place, but the existential threat they have is Iran with nuclear weapons, and they have sworn that they will wipe Israel off the map. They mean it.
Let's turn to domestic affairs, specifically first immigration reform. Representative Bob Goodlatte is helping to craft piecemeal legislation in the House, and he recently came out saying that the House will act, but not on the special pathway to citizenship that Democrats want. Do you think that we'll have an immigration law this year?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be able to pass some sort of immigration reform bill. And the reason I'm for it is because if we do nothing, what we're accepting is the status quo. And the status quo is that we have over 11 million people here who already are illegally here, and that is a form of amnesty. So those folks who say we shouldn't do anything, let's accept things as they are, well then you're really in favor of amnesty, because the status quo is amnesty. I believe that we should secure our borders first. That's the number one thing that we need to do. We need to give the American public the feeling, because it will be the truth, that we are going to stop illegal migration, that no one will get through our borders, and as nearly as we can do to make it fully secure, and then treat with compassion but with rationality the people who are here already, who've overstayed their visas or are undocumented. Now, one group of folks who really deserve this attention are the dreamers, people who came when they were very little, young kids, and now they want to become part of the armed forces. They want to educate themselves in our universities, but they find that they're out of status. So we hope that we can pass some kind of dreamers bill to help those kids realize their dream, which is to be American citizens and be able to serve in our military or go to our universities.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think Republicans have kind of modified their position on that in recent months.
Well, there's still a lot ways to go. We know there's the Senate bill is not going to happen in the House. We're going to do the piecemeal approach, and what we'll hope to do is to get a bill that we can go to conference with. And I think that there are a lot of Republicans who support that idea. I think that we've seen the changing demographics of the United States, and we see that the Republican Party can really be the home for the Hispanic community, because we're a family-centered community. We're a faith-centered community. We believe in small businesses. We believe in limited government. And these are the kind of issues and values that the Hispanic community believes in. And those are the values of the Republican Party. So we should be unafraid to try to get the Hispanic support. We should also be unafraid to try to get the women's support again and the young people support. We need to reach out and extend our tent and make it a much broader tent. We need young people, we need female voters, and we need Hispanics to support our cause.
And now that you're back in the district for a few weeks during the summer, what are you hearing from some of your constituents who are largely Hispanic about perhaps their feelings about how Congress is handling the immigration debate?
Well, there's a great sense of frustration throughout the community. People are really upset with Congress, and I don't blame them. We have a very low approval rate because we're not able to pass meaningful legislation. They see us as a dysfunctional body, and we really need to listen to our constituents more, lead, but also have them lead us. And I think that most folks aren't too much on the right or too much on the left. They're more or less on the middle, and they want people in Congress to listen to them and be good stewards of their hard-earned tax dollars. They believe that we are pilfering their money away and that we're not putting it to good use. So not only are they upset about immigration one way or the other, but they're really upset about the way that we're mismanaging their tax dollars, and I don't blame them. They're very mad.
And what do you think we should be doing about Obamacare? There are some Republicans who say that we should risk a government shutdown to stop funding it. There are others who say we should attempt to delay the legislation by a year. Which do you view as being the better option here?
I'm going to wait to see how the debate shapes up, but I voted 40 times to defund or dismantle Obamacare, and I have been in Congress when we had a government shutdown, when Newt Gingrich was speaker, and he was a very good speaker, controversial, but he was a man of vision and a man of leadership, and it wasn't a very pretty time to be in Congress because people don't want the government to shut down, but at the same time there's a great sense of anxiety in our small business community and young people who are going to be paying a lot of money for their insurance premiums. So Obamacare is going to be an economic disaster. We have to find a way that we can dismantle it, not fund it. Let's see if we can do it in a way that won't stop the government from functioning, because that people will think that they might like that, but in the end it may not be what they really want. So let's see what we can do, working together to try to stop Obamacare, because it's an economic disaster.
And our last question for you is on Cuba. As you know, the Obama administration continues easing travel restrictions between these two countries. Is there any hope for democracy in Cuba?
You know, just that last month we saw a North Korean vessel carrying arms from Cuba, probably destined maybe to Syria or to North Korea. They had MiG airplanes. They had rocket-propelled grenades. It was unbelievable, the kind of military hardware that Cuba is smuggling through the Panama Canal. Thank goodness the Panama caught them. So it's still a state sponsor of terrorism. They're helping all the bad guys. They have an American citizen languishing in jail, Alan Gross. They don't deserve the breaks that the Obama administration is giving them. It's been a windfall for the Castro regime these years that Obama has been president. What a shame. Democracy is going to come, but it's going to come because we're going to get tough on the regime and help the Cuban people rid themselves of this dictatorship.
All right, Representative Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, such
Thank
an honor
you.
to interview you.
It's
and to
always
see you
a
again.
pleasure.
Thanks
Thank you,
for all.
Kathleen.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.